Hey, everybody, welcome back to another exciting edition of Cruise Life Experience Podcast. Mitch.
Hey, it's Mike. How are we doing today, Mitch?
We are doing fantastic, and I'm excited for episode 6.
Yeah, episode 6 is going to be a great episode. We are going to share some really amazing stories with an amazing guest that we're going to have. Some people are going to look at these stories and go, they didn't actually hear. And every crew member who is listening to or watching this podcast is going to go, yep, that probably could have happened. It probably did.
Yep, and we're really excited because this is someone I worked with. Actually, he was my boss. I mean, everybody seems to be my boss at some point, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Who are you picking for guests here? I mean, what's going on?
I guess I'm just like the rookie, the youngin', I guess, you know.
You don't need to kiss up anymore. You're cruise director. Just saying that.
Right?
Yes.
Right? By the way, I just want to compliment the picture that you got back there after the first couple episodes. Did you go buy that?
No, my buddy, Roy Verbeek, he works for a non-for-profit Christian youth program, and he does painting. He does murals.
Wow.
He did this painting. So he's a great guy, and don't know if he watches, but if he does, that's great. A little plug for him. But listen, Richard Spacey is our guest today. And for those who have worked for Royal Caribbean or Celebrity, or even if you haven't and you're a big follower of cruise things that happen on YouTube, you probably have seen some of his videos. He's very outrageous. You know, our last guest, Charlie McDonald, had a lot to say about him and about how he was the most energetic cruise director that he ever met. So we look forward to having him on here today.
Yeah, this guy is an industry legendary cruise director, did it all, saw it all, toured the world, and was one of the top rated out there. So got to work with him. He did the takeout of the Oasis. We can't wait to have him on the show in just a couple minutes.
Yeah, but before we get to that, let's go ahead and kick off with 2 mailbag questions that we had here today. Very first question comes from Sherry. Sherry is a crew member, and she states that sign-on day for crew can be the longest day of the contract. Can you please tell your non-crew listeners what a typical sign-on day is like? And before we get to the sign-on day, let's talk about the whole process of actually getting ready to sign on. So the flights and everything like that. But I'll let you elaborate.
Sure. Okay, so, back in the older days, I mean, it's still like that on a lot of ships, but things have changed now with everything being electronic, which is so much nicer. But, you start back at home, you got to get all your stuff ready, and it depends on what you do on board. But if you're a lucky crew member that has a uniform, well, that's easy. You have a couple different things. You can fit everything maybe into one suitcase. But certain people that wear their own clothes or have lots of costumes or costume changes, like, cruise director, staff, entertainers, it's a lot more. You're packing technically essentially 2 suitcases that you're going to have for anywhere between 4-6 months. And that's a big process. Make sure you don't forget anything. You need to have your medical. So you have to have a medical that's valid. And that takes, you can't ever forget that, which I have done before. And you then have to have your sign-on letter. That is the official company letter that you have to show at the border, and then you have to show before you get on the ship if you're crossing into the States. So all these things that you have to have ready, and then when you get on your flight, some people are flying across the world. I remember signing on in Australia and New Zealand. You're flying literally a day or 2 to get there. And it's a lot of big process to get to the ship. Then you get there. Royal Caribbean is great where they put everybody up in the hotel the night before to make sure you get a great rest before you sign on the ship. And then you get up bright and early, you shuttle to the ship, and you wait outside until they're ready to bring you on. And then you go through the sign-on process outside where you give your medical, you do all the sign-on paperwork, and then you get on the ship, and then you drop off your luggage. Hopefully you'll get it before you have to start work that night. But yeah, you go on board, you go try to, depending on what you do, meet up some of your friends, you go for lunch. You have to go to a special mandatory training before the ship sets sail, and then you start work the same day. And, there's no day off in between, right? And you try to unpack in between that, and it's a whirlwind. I think it's a big day, and but once you get used to it, it's great. And nowadays, with everything being electronic, it's so much better. You get to the terminal, and you can even check in online on the app, and it speeds things up way faster.
Yeah, it is a lot faster now, and they're streamlining things. Not just our company, but every company. They're doing a better job because I think they understand. Most of the people who work in the shoreside offices at cruise line unilaterally, they have worked on cruise ships, and they know that sign-on day is one of the longest, most stressful days. You're in sometimes in a new environment. You've never been on that ship. You don't know anybody. Imagine a new hire going to a ship like Oasis class, where, you know, the largest class of cruise ship in the world, and it is a city. There are 9,000 people on that ship, and you're trying to figure out, where the heck is my cabin, right? You know, so
man.
it's a little overwhelming at times. And if you're a new hire, I always say to all my new hires, you know, you've got to give it 2 to 3 weeks to really settle in. You know, because it can be overwhelming in the first couple of days with all the trainings that you have to do. If you're brand new to ship, your first week is trainings.
It's a blur.
Makes up 70% of what you do, and then your actual job is 30% until you get all those trainings up to date.
Yeah, 100%. And it's a great topic. So I think what we can do is maybe revisit this, especially, and just
you love doing that. You're like, oh, let's revisit this on another episode. But you're right, we should.
I'm planting seeds, right?
Our second question comes from Jerry. He asks us to tell our favorite joke that we've used on stage. So Mitch, your favorite joke.
I'm going to go with like the favorite like joke that maybe is used over and over again by cruise directors, by comedians. And it's just one that you can always pull out, or it's one that people will never get sick of. And it's funny because it's one that I heard on my first contract from a purser. They used to be called pursers. They're now guest services officers at guest services. And it's one of the things that cruise directors used to always love talking about, the top 10 stupid questions. And this is one that you can use in that top 10, or you can just say it, and a lot of comedians say it. I don't even know where it comes from, but like I said, in 2004, guest services officer told me that it happened on the Sovereign of the Seas. That might not even be true, because literally everybody tells this joke. And it's the joke of a guest calling down to guest services, very upset. I paid for an ocean view cabin, and all I can see is the parking lot. And the guest services officer is really apologetic, empathetic, says they're sorry, but do us a favor. Once the ship sets sail, call us back. If you have the same problem, let us know. I mean, you know, it's hilarious, because essentially it really did happen. Someone was really upset. All they could see is the parking lot, but the ship didn't even set sail yet. They're still in port. And it's a classic. You turn it off when you're on vacation, and we love to make fun of those kinds of stories and jokes. You?
I will share a joke that I've never myself told on stage, but one of my favorite comedians, his name is Richie Minervini. He has created this joke, and I hope I pay it. I hope I give it a little bit of respect here. So, and the reason why I'm doing it is because, of course, Tom Brady left the New England Patriots this year and is now going to be playing with Tampa Bay. So here's the joke. It's Halloween night. A kid's dressed up and a pirate. He rings somebody's door. Old man comes and answers the door. He's like, trick or treat. He's like, and what are you supposed to be? He goes, I'm a pirate. He goes, well, where are your buccaneers? He goes, under my bucking hat. Now give me some candy.
Good stuff.
Yeah, Richie's a funny guy. Hey, listen, speaking of jokes, after telling a joke or two, I can think of no better way to introduce our very first guest here today, our only guest, because, you know, he has a lot to share. He was Royal Caribbean's top-rated cruise director. He left a job for Celebrity Cruise Line's head office and then went back out to sea as cruise director with Celebrity Cruise Line. And we welcome our very first guest, none other than the legendary Mr. Richard Spacey. Hello, Richard.
Welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you so much. It's amazing to be here. Thank you for inviting me, guys.
So good to see you. Talk a little bit about that haircut.
Yeah, I got the old Corona cut. It seriously took me an hour. I know it doesn't look like it. I look like just escaped from prison, but it's just simple. I live my own, so I've got no one else to cut my hair. So keep it simple.
Nice. We want to get right into this. We want to spend as much time as possible with you here. First off, I want to say, back when cruise directors were rated by the guests, there was a specific rating that was called Cruise Director and Staff, of which we were based upon. Like, we were looked at and we were evaluated on. We were driven hard to get those strong ratings. It's not something that's as focused now, but back then you were always number one. Always number one. And you know, myself, James Andrews, Alan Brooks, Graham Seymour, a few of the cruise directors who were always playing second fiddle, trying to catch you. Tell us a little bit about how you always got to be so popular with the guests. I'm sure has a little bit to do with your personality, but what made you separate yourself from every other cruise director in the fleet, every other cruise director in the world?
I think it's all about the team, honestly. It's the team that you choose to have around you and get them excited about working. I worked up pretty early on that the video was the way to go and the way to get across to the guests. Like, all the cruise directors are amazing on stage, but I noticed that not a lot of them were putting a lot of content on the TV, which of course now you wouldn't even think of, it would just happen. But back then I was thinking, well, you know, the one complaint we used to have was, you know, there's nothing to watch on the TV, right? So I thought, well, we've got the Cruise Director channel, why not put some decent content on there? So my strange mind, I started coming up with some ideas for different videos that we could put on there. I'm sure that helped a bit. Actually, my ratings helped me from getting fired on a few occasions. Charlie McDonald's even told me that. He goes, Rich, you know you would have been gone a long time ago. I was like, yeah, I do. Fair play. Oh, man. But all you guys were so talented. You mentioned some amazing names there, Mike. And no, I would learn as much as possible. But really, the one difference, I suppose, apart from, because we all had great teams, was a week before I came back off vacation. I would spend that week just going through stuff, trying to come up with some ideas, some stuff that I could bring back with. And I was never satisfied with anything. Like, you know, if you've got the Love and Marriage game show, say, but I would always try and come up with a new, well, Mitch, bless him. We had this whole sequence, didn't we? Do you remember from
Dirty Dancing?
Nobody puts baby in the corner, and he would run up on stage and we would practice it, the lift, and we actually got it to a really good point, didn't we? And your legs are sticking straight up in the air and I'm twirling you around like this.
That's one of the best things ever. Yeah. I mean, for people that don't know, during the Love and Marriage game show, if you've seen it, you've seen it. We just had this crazy idea. Halfway through the show, we kind of got in a fight on stage, and we tried our best to keep it. So, like, I'd talk back and Spacey would tell me to leave, and I would flip out and I'd walk out of the show through the house, and the guests would start yelling at you and be mad. And then the Dirty Dancing. Like, I started to cry. I was like faking the tears, man. I wanted to be an actor. And then the Dirty, it was good.
You made them so angry with me. Yeah, and you loved it.
Do you have a copy? If you have a copy of one of those, man, we got to see it.
I more than might have the copy. I managed to save most of the video. My last contract I knew was going to be my last one, so I got the video guy on there. I paid him a bunch of money to transfer everything over into digital. So now, starting from my first ever Welcome Aboard show back in '98, I think that was, and I got that, and then all through since then. So I'll take it through. I'm sure I've got one.
Speaking of video, and you mentioned it, you had a lot of content back in the day before it was, you know, a standard operating procedure. How did you convince the broadcast guys to do all that extra work? You must have just a lot of drinks.
Booze always works. No, honestly, at the start, because no one was used to doing it, I would pay them out of my own pocket because, and you know, because I knew I was asking them to go above and beyond. But I think the word started spreading, and they love doing projects that they can really put their heart and soul into. So if they have a project like Lie Me Away or something like that, then the editing, you know, they actually enjoy it. That's what they're there for. You know, that's what they really enjoy doing. And I worked, oh my goodness, the broadcast techs I worked with, Tim Exner, Dave Foley, Sharon Hanley, got so many, just best of the best, right?
Yeah, really cool. And you kind of hit the nail on the head. The team is great, and it was always fun. You know, I worked with you for a long time on the Oasis, a little bit on the Freedom when I was cruise staff, and the team rallies around the cruise director, and we all know this now. And when you start to see the results, and you know, you see that you got to perform as a team and achieve the results, makes the guests happy. Everyone wants to keep going. So pretty cool stuff.
Thanks, dude.
We want to ask you about some of your videos. So some say the Lie Me Away, the Bud Light Cruise Ship Entertainer, the Austin Powers with Lee, those videos, epic stuff, and your evolution of dance, your take of it on stage in live, and some of the most memorable things that people remember. And we want to ask you, what was your favorite? Tell us about it.
That's a really good question. The favorite video was probably the Top Ship video that I put together, and that was one that I put together right at the end of my time at Royal. But it was an amalgamation of Top Gun, Dirty Dancing,
Karate.
Footloose, and Karate Kid. Yeah, that's right.
I remember something being filmed in the laundry room at some point.
Oh man, honestly, we spent so much time on that. But watching it back, my favorite part of that was the bloopers at the end. We had so much fun. Lee, who you mentioned, Eric Lydon was a massive part of it as well. And Wes Deploy was filming it. But it was, man, I tell you what, I love that. I love that. And I still love looking back on that. As far as the one thing that had the most impact was probably my version of the evolution of dance. That really, I think, separated me. Towards the end, I started doing it, and I did it for about 10 years. And at the start, I'm 31 years old, and I've got all the energy. And by the end, I'm 40. I need an oxygen tent by the time I got off stage. But it was just a fun thing. I didn't make it sound like it was my original idea. I even tell the guests at the start, this is something that I came across on YouTube, and I was doing most of the dances anyway. So I put my own music to it and my own dance moves and just kind of amalgamated from there. And it morphed over the years, from where it started to where it ended. I probably changed about 50% of the music, I think.
That was epic, right? I mean, I remember watching it live. The guests loved it.
It was, I think people appreciated how much work went into it. It took 3 months to edit all the music together. And then it took another month to get all the moves into my head, because they just naturally had to flow. And even during some farewell shows, I would forget what song's coming up next and had to quickly react to it. When the music came on, I was like, but I mean, the guests were lovely. The guests were lovely and gave it a really nice, reception every time I did it.
Question for you. A lot of people, like, let's say a Ken Rush or a Casey Pelter, have been working as cruise directors and transitioned into the shoreside office. Mm-hmm. You were, as I mentioned before, number one as far as ratings go, top of the heap in the world, and your position. Why make a transition to the shoreside office?
That's a really good question. Well, I was due to take out the Quantum, obviously, so the brand new class of ships. And for a little while, I'd always said to myself, and I said to all my AMs I work with, as soon as you're not enjoying it, time to go. And I was still enjoying it, but not maybe as much as I did. And I was kind of looking for maybe a move on land. And then Becky Thompson Foley just got a promotion over at Celebrity Cruise Lines. And so she said, look, there's a position which used to be my position, but it's now been opened up. And I thought, this is too good an opportunity. Like, you can't look this in the, this gift horse in the. So I thought, as opposed to just entertaining people on one ship, I could help with the entertainment on the entire fleet. I thought, what amazing opportunity that would be. So I started working on land, but what I didn't realize was I'm not supposed to be in an office. And I found that out very, very quickly. I just couldn't adjust. I tried everything, but I can't work 9 to 5. I can't do it. I work in like 2-hour gaps. I even do it now. And it just didn't work for me. The people I worked with were magnificent. Everyone I worked with was brilliant. And I sent a letter to Lisa Lutoff-Perlo, who was then in charge of Royal, saying what a wonderful time I had. And I'm really sorry that I am going over, but I explained the reasons why. And she was very, very nice about it. So I probably ended up doing about 5 months in the office. And then I had a chat with Becky, and I said, Becky, I know you're going to hate me for this. Would it be all right if I went back on the ships? Maybe I just need to get a bit more out of me. And then I was cruise director with Celebrity Cruise Lines for about 5 years until I left 18 months ago.
How tough was it for you to go back? Or was it just like riding a bike?
No, because I wasn't supposed to do anything that I was really doing over at Royal. And also, so I had to come up with new things to do there. And also, it is a different cruise line, and they, they're attracting a different sort of clientele. So you do have to adjust a lot of the things you were doing. Maybe I had to pull back a bit because I was a bit crackers, which suited Royal because you got the families on there. But Mitch, you remember me at 70s night.
Oh yeah.
I would lose about 2 stone in weight. I would have to wring my shirt out at the end of the night, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I absolutely loved it.
Nice.
Yeah. We want to ask you something really that I got to experience, and it's something that I guess people on ships are known for, cruise directors, and a lot has changed over the years, but you are known as the King of Parties. So we want to hear about your favorite memories, your favorite parties, for example, and how close you were to ever being fired for having a party, because cruise ship parties are epic stories that people don't believe.
I think I hold the world record for captain's hearings.
Really?
I believe it's 7. I think I have had 7 captain's hearings during my time at sea. Can I take this opportunity to apologize to Charlie and to Peter Compton? They were always so nice to me, and all I did was make their life hell. And I'm so sorry. I was a very ambitious, bulletproof boy in his 20s that had too much power at too young an age to know what to do with it. Where to start? Someone asked me, they said, what was life like for the crew, back in the day, back before it got a bit more with the rules and everything. And I said, well, you can imagine it's somewhere between the Wolf of Wall Street and Animal House. That basically was every single night on board for me. And we were young, we had momentum, and you could party till 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. And I got up and was at 8 o'clock meeting, bright and bushy tailed the next day. But man, parties. We had probably the one I'm most known for, and I'm actually more known for my parties than I ever was as a cruise director with the crew. Like, people come out, oh, you're the guy that threw the pool party in my cabin, and that's what we did. I had the bright idea of bringing a huge, and I mean huge, blow-up pool, which I managed to fill up with a hose pipe that I attached to the shower, and we had a pool full of water, and so everyone came round in their swimming costumes, and we had a pool party. But then had to take it to the next level. So the second time, I managed to squeeze a second pool in there, and I may or may not have got some sand on board, and we made a little beach area, because you've got to have a little beach area. God. But the first pool party, it ended, and I'm like, what am I going to do with all the water? I had no plan at all to do with the water. So bless his heart, I had my Studio B guy there with the wetback sucking it up and then dumping it in the shower. And it took us about 4 hours. I'm there with a bucket. But yeah, Hugh Hefner parties where we built these massive stages and all sorts. Oh God.
But did you ever get caught by security or get in trouble for having one? Or first of all, where did that pool party happen? Was that on the Freedom or was it on?
So most of my captain's hearings were for parties that I thrown.
There we go.
Yes. So sorry, what was your question, Mitch?
So that was mostly maybe on the Freedom, but I was just asking where most of those were. But did you ever go? Yeah, so you went to a captain's hearing, and did you ever get caught in the middle of the party, or was it kind of you kind of got?
It was always the next day. It was always the next day. The parties were never. Everyone kind of knew about it, but didn't really mind, that much, because it was, when things are going well. It's like anything, when your team's playing well, you don't mind them having a night out once in a while. And the ship was doing great. It was actually the Adventure where we did most of the parties. That was, for some reason, that ship was just amazing for that. It was just brilliant. Yeah. And, everyone had a wonderful time. No one got hurt or anything, which is obviously one of the main concerns. But it was a different time. It was a different time. And I even arrived after, because I would hear stories about what went on. I joined in September 97, and I would hear stories from legends like Greg Maxwell and Paul Grayson about stuff that went on, and that just went to another level altogether. So I loved the reason that I think that all the parties happened and we never got in trouble for them was it was before camera phones. and
Yes.
before social media. And I'm so grateful that I was around in that time, because now, no chance. I guarantee you someone will take a picture of that party. It'll be on Facebook and you'll be off the ship before you know it.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true. You mentioned about going to celebrity, and one of the things you talked about was working. We talked about this earlier. You were always in the Caribbean. You were the master. You had to be there. That's where the biggest, newest best ships were. But when you went to celebrity, you actually finally got a chance to travel. So we just wanted to ask you a little bit about what that was like, especially for being in cruising so long and never getting to travel really the world.
Right. Well, I had 7 days worth of really good material. 7 days, I could nail 7 days, no problem. So when I was given a 21-day cruise on one of my first cruises, I'm like, I haven't got anything. So I literally had to write material each day for that following night. And I was just coming up with stuff. It was, for that reason, that's what made my time at Celebrity incredible. People I got to work with and the places I got to see. I mean, it was stunning. I'd never been fun. I worked on cruise ships for 16 years for Royal and never been to Alaska. Can you believe that?
Wow.
I was always in the Caribbean. I could tell you every single person's name in St. Thomas, but I'd never been to Alaska. I'd never been to Hawaii, French Polynesia. I'd never been to New Zealand. I'd never been to a lot of places in Europe, even like Croatia, Montenegro, Greece. And then I also got a chance to go out to Asia as well. And it was for that reason. I tell you that made it magic time there.
Wow. So we want to ask you a little bit about Oasis, because you were you got to be on the takeout team. You were there from the beginning, and we want to talk just about some of the big things that you did there, some of your greatest memories. Halloween party was the biggest. It's everything that was done there at the beginning set the bar for all the Oasis class ships. And the last thing we need to ask you about is apparently there's a story of a blimp that we need to know more.
Okay. So first of all, that was the proudest moment of my shipping career, was taking out the Oasis. It was so incredible. That ship is so much of everything. I just loved it. It was like my own little playground. And I had to do loads of videos just because I was on that ship. Like loads of them were just because I was on the Oasis. And Mike, did you ever work with Mitch when he was activities manager?
For one cruise, he was my activities manager. Yep.
Like the hardest working guy ever. I mean, he is amazing. You give him a project and he ran with it. And that's the reason that I asked for him to come on the Oasis with me, because I knew we worked well together and I could give him a project and basically forget about it. And there's not many times you can do that in your life, but I just knew that he would smash it, and he always did. But some of the things we did on there, the belly flop competition was humongous. Holding it in the Aqua Theatre, which I don't think you do anymore, but that was unbelievable, to have underwater cameras as the belly came through the water and to have an instant playback. It was epic. It turned it into a full-on show. Yeah. And the Aqua show itself was, I genuinely enjoyed watching that every single, I watched it 5 times a week, every single time it was on, I watched it and I loved it. And I would look at this crowd sometimes and thinking, do you know what you're seeing here? This is an Aqua Theatre on a ship. Mm-hmm. Unbelievable. And the 70s parties in that massive Royal Promenade, where you, from one end to one end, it was absolutely chock-a-block full of people. And we had the T-shirt going, and also we had a blimp. Now, there's a long story. So Mitch and I had a bit of a reputation that if we thought something was a good idea, we would usually just go off and do it, and then face everything else after that. So again, Mitch, we got talking one day, and I still don't remember who was it that came up with the idea in the first. Was it you, Mitch?
Yeah, because I'm a big hockey fan, and always at the hockey games, they used to have these little motorized blimps that would fly around and drop prizes. And I always wanted to find a cool way to throw away prizes. And I think we started talking about that, and it meshed with some other things that I never even knew about. And
yeah, it was redonk. This thing was massive, and it basically flew throughout the thing, and it had a little thing on the bottom of it that if you pressed a button, it would drop prizes into the crowd. So Mitch, how long it was months, wasn't it? He designed perfectly the Royal Caribbean logo on the side. It was all absolutely bang on brand. It looked brilliant, and people were breathtaking when we brought it out, because we kind of hid it over the top of one of the shops so you couldn't see it. And then it just came out, and then it was dropping prizes, and I'm firing T-shirt cannons off the side of it. It was redonk. Anyway,
it was like $10,000 or something crazy.
It was. I do remember that sort of figure. Again, the hotel director was giving up on me by that point in time. But
champion.
It was before Champion. It was Francois.
Raymond?
Francois. Yeah. And he was just giving up on me by that point in time, especially after Halloween, which I'll get onto in a little bit. But so someone posted a picture, damn you, Facebook, on Facebook. And all of a sudden, we're having these phone calls. What's going on? What's this blimp about? Mitch gets called to a meeting that I'm not invited to. And basically, what had happened, I later found out, because obviously I knew everyone in the office anyway, was the email came out. I sent the email, of course I did, to Richard Fain, because that's how important I thought I was. I sent it to Richard Fain, Adam Goldstein. I sent it to the captain of the ship. I sent it to Charlie, to Peter, to Alison. Sent it out to everyone. And all of a sudden, Charlie goes out. I believe it was Charlie. I think it was Charlie. He'll correct me if I'm wrong, but he goes out and he goes, right, nobody talked to Mitch. Nobody talked to Rich. I told you it was going to be an issue if these two worked together. What they thought was, when the Oasis first came out, it originally was supposed to have a blimp on the top. And just this, the blimp that would actually take people up in the air. I mean, this is how forward-thinking Pete Compton was. I mean, it just, stuff like that. And I think that was Richard Fain's idea as well. But so they tested it out, and it went up once, then came back down, and then they tested it the next day, and it went up and up and up. And I believe it was the Swedish Air Force that had to shoot it down.
No way.
I think I heard that could be a complete legend, an urban legend. That's what I heard. Anyway, so they thought that we were taking the mickey, but number one, Mitch didn't even know that there was a blimp at the start. He heard that story, and I was sending it to him, basically saying, "Look, we kind of made your dream happen on a smaller scale." And everyone in the office was freaking out. I mean, I'm sure they had it planned that we were both going to get fired, right, Mitch? I'm sure that was part of the deal.
I was like, this can't be, like, I can't get in trouble for something I didn't even know about. So yeah. I was like, but I do remember Alison Fraser, you saying, we have a meeting with Alison, and we had to go out in the morning and talk to her. And I was like, how could I be involved in this? I'm an innocent bystander. I was trying to not get in trouble.
Luckily, I think it was Adam Goldstein that wrote back, was it? Or Richard himself. But one of them, if not both of them, wrote back saying, thank you so much. This was a great tribute. So everything was forgotten. They thought it was a great idea. So it was another case of me and Mitch not asking before doing something.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, listen, we're going to take a moment to pause right now. And we're going to come back with more with Richard Spacey, because there's more stories to tell and more exciting things just like this. So we'll be back with another episode coming up next.